and welcome to Stories. I'm Sherry. Mikhail Bulgakov was born in Kiev, Ukraine, in 1891 and died in Moscow, Russia, in 1940. He died from a kidney disease inherited from his father. He was only 48 years old. He was a physician, but decided to devote his time to writing. He wrote a lot about the horrors of the Russian Civil War, which lasted from November 1917 to October 1922. He is famous for writing The White Guard, A Dog's Heart, and most of all, The Master and Margarita, which was published after he died. The Red Crown takes place during the Russian Civil War. Approximately 10 million people were killed, most of them civilians. It is a dramatic story about a man who went in search of his younger brother at the behest of his mother. He found his brother who was on his way into battle. The man waited for his brother to return. When he did, the man's life and his mind were devastated forever. And now, without further ado, The Red Crown by Mikhail Bulgakov. Most of all, I hate the sun. Loud human voices and pounding. Rapid, rapid pounding. I am so afraid of people that if I hear someone else's footsteps and the sound of voices in the corridor in the evening, I start to scream. Because of this, I have a special room, the quietest and the best. Number 27, at the very end of the corridor. No one can get to me, but in order to protect myself further, I kept begging Ivan Vasilievich for a long time. Actually, I cried in front of him. To give me an official typed authorization. He consented and wrote that I was under his protection and that no one had the right to take me away. But to tell you the truth, I didn't have much confidence in the weight of his signature. So he persuaded a professor to sign it too, and affixed a round blue seal to the paper. That made all the difference. I know of many instances where people have avoided death solely because they had a piece of paper with a round blue seal on it in their pockets. True. That worker in Berdyansk with the cheek smeared with soot was hung from a lamppost after they found a crumpled piece of paper with a stamp on it in his boot. But that was altogether different. He was a criminal Bolshevik, and the blue seal was a criminal seal. It reserved him a place on that lamppost, and the lamppost was the reason for my illness. Don't worry, I know perfectly well that I am ill. In fact, something had happened to me even before Kolya. I walked away in order to avoid seeing a man being hanged, but fear walked with me in my trembling legs. At the time, of course, there was nothing I could do, but now I would boldly say, "General, you are an animal. How dare you hang people?" This alone shows you that I'm no coward. I didn't go on about the seal because I am afraid of death. Oh no, I'm not afraid of that. I am going to shoot myself, and it'll be soon, because Kolya will drive me to despair. I will shoot myself, so that I don't have to see or hear Kolya. As for the thought that other people might come, it is loathsome. For days on end, I had been lying on the couch and staring out the window. Above our green garden is an empty void. Beyond it, the yellow bulk of a 7-story building turns its deaf, windowless wall to me, and right under the roof is a rusty square, a sign, Dental Laboratory, in white letters. At first I hated it. Then I got used to it, and if it were gone, I might even miss it. It can be seen clearly the whole day. I focus my attention on it and ponder many important things. But evening is falling. The The cupola darkens. The white letters fade from view. I become gray and dissolve in the gloom just like my thoughts. Twilight. A frightening and portentous time of day. Everything fades. Everything becomes indistinct. A pale ginger cat begins to slink along the corridor with velvety steps, and from time to time I scream. But I will not allow a lamp to be lit because the glare of the lamp will cause me to wring my hands and sob all night. It's better to wait, submissively, for the moment when that most important last picture begins to burn in the quivering darkness. My aged mother said to me, "I can't go on like this much longer. All I see is madness. You are the oldest, and I know that you love him. Bring Kolya back. Bring him back. You are the oldest." I said nothing. So she put all of her yearning and all of her pain into her words. "Find him. You pretend that nothing can be done. But I know you. You are intelligent. You have long understood that this is all madness. Bring him to me for a day, for just one day. I'll let him go again." She was lying. Would she really let him go again? I said nothing. "I only want to kiss his eyes. I know he will be killed. Don't you understand? He's my baby. Who else can I ask? You're the oldest. Bring him." I couldn't stand it, so avoiding her eyes, I said, "Okay." But she grabbed my sleeve and turned me around so that she could look into my face. "No, you will swear that you will bring him back alive." How could I swear any such thing? But being the insane person that I am, I did it. "I swear." My mother is faint-hearted. With that thought, I left. But in Berdyansk, I saw the crooked lamppost. "General, sir, I agree that I was no less criminal than you. I accept great responsibility for the man smeared with soot, but my brother doesn't have anything to do with it. He's 19 years old." After Berdyansk, I resolutely fulfilled my oath and found him by a small stream 20 versts away. The day was unusually bright. Along the road to the village, from which came the smell of ashes, a cavalry column moved slowly, stirring up clouds of white dust. He rode at the end of the first rank, with the visor of his cap pulled down over his eyes. I remember every detail. The right spur came all the way down to his heel. The strap of his cap stretched across his cheek and down under his chin. "Kolya!" I yelled and ran down to the roadside ditch. He started. Along the ranks, the sullen, sweaty soldiers turned their heads. "Ah, brother!" For some reason, he never called me by my name, but always said brother. I'm 10 years older than him, and he always listened carefully to what I said. Wait here," he continued. "By the little woods. We'll be back right away. I can't leave the troop." At the edge of the woods, a little away from the dismounted troop, we smoked greedily. I was calm and insistent. Everything was madness. Mother was absolutely right. I whispered to him, "As soon as you return from the village, come with me into town. Then get out of here and never come back." "What are you saying, brother?" "Be quiet. I know what I'm saying." The troop had mounted. They were swaying, moving at a trot toward the billowing black smoke. In the distance, a pounding began. Rapid, rapid pounding. What could happen in just an hour? They would come back. I settled down to wait by the tent with the red cross on it. An hour later, I saw him. He also returned at a trot, but there was no troop. Only one horseman with a lance galloped on either side of him, and one of them, the one on the right, leaned towards my brother periodically, as if he were whispering something to him. Squinting into the sun, I watched the strange masquerade. He had left in a gray cap and was returning in a red one. The sun was setting. Only a black silhouette crowned with brightness remained. There was no hair, and there was no forehead. Instead, there was a red crown with yellow spikes in clumps. My brother, the horseman, wearing a ragged red crown, sat motionless on a lathered horse. The horseman sat proud in the saddle, but he was blind and mute, and if the horseman on the right had not been carefully supporting him, he might have been on his way to a parade. The horseman sat proud in the saddle, but he was blind and mute. There were 2 red blotches with streaks where an hour ago bright eyes had shone. The horseman on the left dismounted. His left hand clutched the reins, but the one on the right very carefully led Kolya by the hand. Kolya swayed. A voice said, "I'm afraid our volunteer, he's been hit by a shell fragment. Orderly, call a doctor." The other one sighed and said, "Sure, but why call a doctor, buddy? You better call a priest." Then the black veil thickened, and everything was obscured, even the headgear. I've gotten used to everything, to this white building of ours, to the twilight, to the ginger cat who purrs at the door, but I can't get used to his visits. The first time it happened, when I was still living downstairs in number 63, he came out of the wall. He was wearing the red crown. There was nothing terrifying in that. I had seen him like that in dreams, but of course I knew that since he was wearing the crown, he was dead. Then he spoke, moving his lips, which were caked with blood. He eased them apart, clicked his heels, put his hand to the crown in a salute, and said, "Brother, I can't leave the troop." Since then, it's always the same. He comes wearing his field shirt, with straps across his chest, with a curved saber and silent spurs, and says the same thing. Salute, then, "Brother, I can't leave the troop." You can't imagine how it affected me the first time it happened. He gave the whole clinic a fright. Anyway, it's all over for me. It stands to reason that since he's wearing a halo, he's been killed, and if the dead come and talk to me, it means I've gone mad. Yes, now it's twilight. It is the hour of reckoning. But once I dozed off and saw the living room with the worn red velvet furniture, the comfortable armchair with the cracked leg, the portrait in a dusty black frame on the wall, flowers on stands. The piano was open, and on it was the score from Faust. He stood in the doorway, and a wild happiness warmed my heart. He was not a horseman. He was as he had been before those accursed days, in a black double-breasted jacket with a smudge of chalk on the elbow. His lively eyes smiled playfully, and a lock of hair hung down over his forehead. He was nodding to me. "Brother, let's go to my room. Do I have something to show you?" The rays from his eyes lit up the living room, and the burden of remorse melted inside me. That ill-fated day when I told him, "Go," had never existed. There was no pounding or acrid smoke. He had never gone away, and had never been a horseman. He played the piano. The ivory keys tinkled. The golden rays of light touched everything, and his voice was expressive, and he laughed. Then I woke up. There was nothing. No light, no eyes. I never had that dream again. Then that very night, to compound my unbearable torture, he came anyway, stepping silently, the horseman in full military regalia, and he spoke to me, the way he has decided to speak to me for eternity. I decided to put an end to it. I said forcefully, What are you doing, my eternal torturer? Why do you come? I admit everything. I take the blame for sending you on that doomed mission. I also take the blame for the hanging. Since I admit all this, forgive me and leave me alone. I tell you, General, sir, he said nothing and left. So I became bitter from this torment and wished with all my might that he would come to you just once and put his hand to the crown in a salute. I assure you, you would be finished just like me, at one stroke. However, maybe you too aren't alone at night? Who knows? Maybe you're visited by that soot-smeared man from the lamppost in Berdyansk. If this is so, we suffer it as we must. I sent Kolya to help you carry out the hanging, but you were the one who actually did it, by verbal order. So, he didn't leave. Then I scared him away with a scream. Everyone woke up. The attendant came running. They woke Ivan Vasilievich. I couldn't face the next day, but they wouldn't let me do myself in. They bound me with canvas strips, tore the glass from my hands, and bandaged me. Since then, I've been in number 27. After I was drugged, I began to doze off and heard the attendant talking in the corridor. A hopeless case. It's true. I have no hope. In burning anguish, I wait in the twilight for that dream to come. That old familiar room and the peaceful light from those radiant eyes. But all of that is gone forever. The burden does not ease. And at night, I wait submissively for the familiar horseman with the sightless eyes to come and say hoarsely, I can't leave the troop. Yes, I am hopeless. He will drive me to my grave. I hope you enjoyed The Red Crown by Mikhail Bulgakov. May you always find a good book to read, and may all your stories end well. Thank you for listening.